Chapter 2801. In today's society, girls who lived alone were the most likely to be in danger. The woman only nodded perfunctorily, indicating that she would. She felt a little uncomfortable. Her man really liked to poke his nose into other people's business. Tang stayed at home every day, and she lived in a high-class neighborhood. The security factor was very high. What could happen to her? Those who had sent messages to Tangwa did not receive any response. They did not even think that something might have happened to her. Instead, they were a little unhappy. They had sent a lot of messages, but she had ignored them all day. Tangwa's phone only turned on its normal mode after she went skiing. She sat on the deck chair and basked in the sun. She looked at the messages that popped up one after another. They were densely packed, but she was still so calm. She received many calls, including from the woman who was also an alumnus. "I knew it. You must be so busy that you forgot to charge your phone. I said that when you're busy, you should turn your phone on. I called you many times yesterday, but I couldn't get through. If I had talked to you, I wouldn't have been angry the whole day because of that stupid boss." Chu Yen realized that Tangwa's condition was no different from before. She was still chatting with the other party patiently. She seemed to be in a better mood than before. Chu Yen walked to a corner and made a call. "Professor, have you read the messages I sent you? Did you analyze any problems? Although I've read many books, I don't have a deep understanding of this aspect. But my intuition tells me that she's not in a good state." "Chu Yen, from the information you gave me, she doesn't seem like a normal person. You didn't bring her over for me to take a look. If I see her face to face, I might find something. Isn't it best to use some scientific methods to test her? Didn't I just meet her? It's a little offensive to do that. She'll be unhappy." "But you must have taken a fancy to her. Back then, I begged you to change your major to psychology, but you insisted on studying that stupid mathematics. You were unwilling to study psychology as a minor and said that you weren't interested. But what happened in the end? You didn't study mathematics after graduation and actually wrote reasoning. Your tutor was so angry that he almost went to the hospital. I really can't understand you young people. Professor, watch your words. If someone sees you, it will damage your wise and mighty image. This time, I really have to trouble you. I'm worried about her condition." Yes, this matter does seem a little strange. Her lifestyle is clearly healthier and more regular than most people's, but it still feels unreal. No matter what, before this matter is resolved, Chu Yen, you must keep a close eye on her. It sounds very serious. The smile on Chu Yen's face disappeared. "I will guide her slowly and watch over her. You know, the suicide rate in this world is still very scary. Some people showed signs of suicide, which were easily seen by others. But there were special cases. They might be elites and successful people. Everyone thought that they were winners in life. But after they committed suicide for no reason, they would become a mystery. Actually, I didn't believe that someone who committed suicide without any warning would definitely send out a distress signal. We just have to see if the people around us can find out. If there's a chance, let her do the set of questions I sent you." "Okay, thank you, Professor. If you had switched to psychology, it would have been much easier to treat illnesses. Professor, if I really change my major, I won't have a chance with her anymore. A psychiatrist and a patient can't have a relationship." Chu Yen even heaved a sigh of relief. "Speaking of which, I'm really glad that I didn't listen to the professor and change my major to psychology. I think mathematics is pretty good. When you have time, buy something to visit your tutor. I wonder if he's calmed down. Get lost." Chapter 2802. Chu Yen and Tangwa had been playing outside together for about a month. He could see that every day, Tangwa would reply to some people's messages and answer some calls. Almost no one called to care about her. They all came to complain to her, seek comfort, and ask for psychological counseling. "I think you should study psychology. When the time comes, other than painting, you can also do some psychological counseling as a side job," Chu Yen said casually. He felt that those people who came to her were too natural. After complaining and being comforted, they cut off communication with her. It gave people the feeling that they threw her away after using her. This made him very unhappy. No, it should be said that he was very unhappy Very unhappy, extremely unhappy. Did these people really not have any brains? Did they really think that she was an emotional trash can? However, Tangwa's reaction was very calm. At first, he thought that she had a sacrificial personality. Later, he realized that was not the case. Although on the surface, she looked similar to a sacrificial personality. However, after careful observation, with his shallow knowledge of psychology and after talking to his professor, they all agreed that she was not a sacrificial personality. As for what she was, because they could not directly take her for treatment, they were afraid that it would arouse her vigilance. It was the professor who said that with her condition, if they took her for treatment rashly, she would pretend to be in the most perfect state. The professor said that this state of perfection was so perfect that it could deceive herself. At the same time, she would be wary of them and would not trust them in the future. I don't have such thoughts for the time being, Tangwa replied. It will take a lot of time to study another subject. Moreover, studying psychology is not something that can be done in a short period of time. Whether it is time or energy, I don't have it for the time being. Of course, Chuyen knew this. He just casually mentioned it, intending to lead the topic to what he wanted. Actually, I was almost pulled into psychology. At that time, I was actually a little interested in psychology. Tangwa asked curiously, then why didn't you take this subject? There should be a lot of time when you were a student. It shouldn't be a problem to take a side course, right? In my school, there was someone who took 3 subjects at the same time. However, that person's IQ was indeed very high. Almost all of his time was spent on studying. Most people who chose to take 2 subjects at the same time. Compared to psychology, I liked mathematics more at that time. You should know that studying this course is still quite busy. But I think you should be able to. Hearing Tangwa's confident words, Chuyen couldn't help but smile. I didn't expect you to have so much faith in my abilities. Indeed, it wasn't impossible for me to cultivate at that time. Moreover, the 2 subjects don't conflict with each other. If you learn mathematics well, it will be helpful for psychology too. But for some reason, I had a feeling that I shouldn't study psychology. Chuyen wasn't lying. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so familiar with that psychology professor. At that time, he had actually taken his elective course and had shown great interest in it. In that elective class, his performance was very outstanding, and he was very liked by the professor. He even became his assistant for a while. Later on, the other party even wanted to take him in as a disciple. Originally, he was about to agree, but at that time, he had a feeling that if he agreed, he would lose a lot. Now, he felt that his intuition was very accurate. Chapter 2803. If he really majored in psychology, even if he did not continue to shine in the field of mathematics because of his reasoning, he might still do counseling as a side job. If that was the case, they might not meet. Even if they met, it might be a doctor and patient relationship. Thinking of this, Chuyen felt that he was very smart. He changed his profession under the cold stares of the 2 professors. No wonder your reasoning is always so rigorous. Some of your expressions are implanted in people's hearts. It turns out that you study mathematics. People who study mathematics must be better at logical thinking than ordinary people. With some psychological knowledge, it's inevitable that you'll become an excellent theorist. I'm a little embarrassed to be praised like this. Tangwa smiled and said, I don't see any embarrassment on your face. I only see that you are very happy to be praised. Chuyen laughed and took advantage of the time when the 2 of them were sunbathing by the beach. Actually, I have been reading books about psychology. When I have nothing to do, I will study some psychological test questions. Previously, the professor gave me a new set of questions and asked me to help see if there are any loopholes. Since I have time, I will send you a copy. The professor is probably very unhappy with my rejection back then. All these years, he likes to enslave me when he has nothing to do. It can't be helped. After all, I did let down the professor's good intentions. It is only right to help him do something small. It is also good to make him happy. What kind of questions? It should be a psychological test. Let's do it. The professor said that he wants to find people from all walks of life to test. I know the most familiar artist. So, I invite you to do it well. Tangwa did not refuse. She nodded and said, "Okay, then I will help you." Chu Yan's heart relaxed. It seemed that his expression was quite perfect. According to his observation, the other party did not show any abnormalities. Then, he sent the questions to Tangwa. It was an internal link that the professor gave him. After he was done, he would submit it directly. After the professor saw it, he would be able to analyze it. This was similar to the market research in the market. Tangwa clicked on the link. She had already started to do the questions. Chu Yan also planned to do it, but he would not submit it. It was not easy to coax her to do the questions. The professor said that he couldn't be too direct as it would easily arouse her vigilance. That would be useless. The smarter a person was, the better they were at analyzing the answers. They would find the most reasonable answers so that no one would be able to tell that something was wrong. It was a headache for psychiatrists to deal with patients who could not open their hearts. Of course, the more troublesome ones were the patients whose subconscious was hidden. There was almost nothing they could do. After all, they were not trying criminals, so they could not use some extreme methods. They could only choose a gentle way. Half an hour later, Tangwa submitted her test results. After that, the two of them went surfing and diving. They had a lot of fun. Although Tangwa was still texting nonstop when they stopped to rest, Chu Yan could feel that she was in a good mood. When the sun was about to set, Chu Yan took her to eat some local delicacies. After eating the delicious food, they would go to rest. They planned to work the next day and continue to play the next project on the third day. Their time was distributed very evenly. At night, Chu Yan called the professor. "Professor, do you have any results?" Chapter 2804. Chu Yan, the answers she chose were the most perfect ones. Based on the analysis of her answers, she is a very positive and healthy person. Chu Yan's face darkened. "What do you mean, Professor? Did she hide it too well?" Don't be anxious, kid. Actually, this psychological test question is specially designed for patients with hidden mental illnesses. Only people who are good at hiding will choose the most perfect and normal answer. Tell me, who in this world will not have any troubles in their life? Who will not be sad in their life? Who will always have a good mentality and not have a nervous breakdown? Those who can do it are not human, but a piece of wood. Don't you think so? Chu Yan laughed again. "Professor, you are so smart. It can't be helped. Patients nowadays are more and more difficult to deal with. Their IQ is high and they want to hide their illness. They will choose the most suitable answer in minutes. That's why we, the old fellows who study this, have no choice but to study some special test questions." Chu Yan heard the professor's helplessness. He thought of Tangwa's performance and agreed. Yes, the patient was good at hiding and had a high IQ. She was indeed difficult to deal with. Only the professor came up with this reverse test. Because the answers she chose were almost perfect, the problem in her heart must be very serious. For this set of questions, the more perfect the answer is, the more serious the problem in her heart is. "Chu Yan, if you have the chance, bring her to me. I will think of a way, Professor. If you can't for the time being, keep an eye on her. Pay more attention to the details of her life. When she acts differently from usual, pay more attention. This may be a signal she is sending to the outside world for help." "Got it, Professor. I will pay attention to it. Thank you." Chu Yan, let's discuss something. If this girl you like recovers in the future, you will be my last disciple. After so many years, I have seen that you are the most talented person. You are very suitable for this line of work. To be honest, your talent in mathematics is also top-notch. Why did you choose a profession that you are not good at? "Professor, do you want to search my encyclopedia?" Chu Yan kindly reminded him. He thought that he was very talented in writing. Get lost. Half a year later, Tangwa and Chu Yan returned. In the past half a year, Chu Yan had been paying close attention to her situation. Compared to before, he believed that her condition was much better. Under normal circumstances, he could not directly say that he would take her to see a doctor. The professor also suggested not to take her to see a doctor. It was better to observe her first. If she became vigilant, who knew what the consequences would be? Because she seemed to be trying very hard to maintain her current state. Chu Yan was also worried, so he agreed to this conservative treatment plan. For this reason, he even moved his family to the residential area opposite the Tangwa. When he was free, he would ask her out for coffee at the cafe downstairs that he didn't want to go to, or go to the library to work. Perhaps this method is not bad. What if you cure her? Chu Yen also hoped that this was the case, but as long as she was not well, he would not be able to let it go. How can we be sure that she's fine? Well, it's possible that she'll reject some of her current lifestyles, or she'll tell you the truth. If she can tell you the truth, it means that she's relieved. Chapter 2805. Tangwa and Chu Yen maintained this kind of relationship. Every time, Chu Yen would take the initiative to look for her. Even if he had some activities, he would contact her several times a day. When he found that she was fine, he would sleep at ease. At around 7 o'clock in the morning, he would send her a good morning message. If she was fine, she should reply to him very quickly. This situation continued for another half a year. Chu Yen didn't find it difficult to endure. Instead, he enjoyed it. Although they weren't boyfriend and girlfriend, other than not holding hands, they were already living this kind of life. Couples dating, playing together for a while, eating together, it was pretty much the same. System, you're far from it. You're a single dog from birth, how can you be satisfied so easily? The system looked at the time. There were only a few months left before the original owner's death date. He had to pay attention. After all, Chu Yen still had a lot of things to do every day. If he wasn't paying attention, he would leave it to him. Because there were still a few months left, the system was connected to Chu Yan's phone signal at all times. It was guaranteed that it could contact him at any time. 3 months later, Chu Yen was going to hold a national fan meeting. During this period, he would fly to various cities every day. However, he would still contact Tangwa every day when he was free. When he was free, he would take out his phone and look at it. For this, his assistant was used to it. When Chu Yen didn't know, Tangwa received a call from her mother. "Xiaogua, how are you?" "I'm fine." "That's good. I knew that Xiaogua could take good care of herself. We haven't seen each other for so many years. Do you have a boyfriend?" "Not yet." "Oh, then you must not have met the right person. Our Xiaogua is such a good girl. You will definitely meet your Prince Charming. Xiaogua listens to mom and can take good care of herself. Unlike your sister, who always doesn't listen to mom. If I didn't take her away and stay in the country, and your father didn't care much about things, she would definitely have learned bad things. Sigh, even now, your sister doesn't listen to me anymore. She's already 20 years old, but she's still so rebellious. She keeps changing her boyfriend. I don't know what to say about her anymore. Xiaogua, why aren't you saying anything? Are you blaming me for choosing your younger sister?" "No, why would I blame my mother? Little sister is so young. Mommy is right. She needs mommy more." Tangwa said very understandingly, "At that time, I was already a junior high school student and could take care of myself. My younger sister is in the 3rd year and will definitely not be able to take care of herself if she stays with her father. At that time, I didn't have a choice. At that time, your father and I were sentenced to 1 child each. With my ability, I couldn't take you away immediately. Moreover, I have to live abroad. I really can't take care of 2 children. I know that Xiaogua is the most sensible. He was different from your younger sister when he was young. He was sensible and obedient. He didn't cry and even helped share his mother's worries. That's why I didn't hesitate to take your sister away. I'm afraid that if your sister stays here, she won't have a good life." Not long after that, your father really did marry that woman and even had a child. Xiaogua can still go to boarding school, but your sister is only in 3rd grade and needs someone to take care of her. I know, Mom. You don't have to explain anything. I can take care of myself. Chapter 2806. Xiaogua is still so sensible. I've seen all of your works. They're really good. Your little sister saw them before and wanted to learn from you. Mother Tang smiled. But she doesn't have Xiaogua's talent. She signed up for a year, but she didn't learn anything. She did get to know a lot of boys though. I really can't do anything about her. Everyone has their own strengths. Maybe she's good at something else, Tangwa helped to explain. Mother Tang agreed. Yeah, your sister is really talented in music. She's already been accepted as a student by a famous violinist. Congratulations to her then. Let's see if she can calm down and learn well. But I'm not worried about this. Although she still gets to know a lot of boys, she hasn't stopped learning the violin. Apart from going on dates, she'll practice every day. Her teacher said that she's improving very quickly. Alright, when I'm free, I'll take a video and send it to your email. Maybe in the near future, your sister will be able to perform on stage. But your sister isn't as good at taking care of herself as Xiaogua. Without me watching over her, I really don't know how she'll turn out. Tangwa didn't interrupt, but Mother Tang talked a lot. Basically, she couldn't stop talking about the little sister that she hadn't seen in many years. Mother Tang didn't call her often. She probably only called her 2 or 3 times a year. She once took the initiative to call her, but because the other party was busy every time, she didn't pick up, so she didn't call. Mother Tang also said that she would call her when she was free. Alright, I'm planning to come back to China this year. Let's meet up then. Apart from looking at your photo, we haven't seen each other in so many years. In my mind, you're still that little girl with a ponytail, wearing a school uniform, and carrying a small backpack. You look different in person from the photo. When the time comes, I'll stay in China and play with you for a while. Are you really coming back? Yeah. Why else would I call you at this time to let you know that I'm coming back? Xiaogua, are you happy to hear this news? Of course, I'm very happy. I haven't seen my mother in a long time. Let's wait for another week. After a week, I'll apply for leave. I'll be able to come back and see you then. Then I'll wait for Mom. After hanging up the phone, the system realized that Tangwa had a smile on her face. The happiness that came from the bottom of her heart made her look exceptionally relaxed and happy. It was rare for her to put down all her work today. She stood by the window and looked up at the sky. Then, the system could not help but ask, "Host, what are you looking at?" Look at the plane. When Mom comes back, the plane will definitely fly past that position and leave a long scratch on the clouds above. The system was on the verge of breaking down. There was still a week to go. Were they waiting so early? He didn't ask any more questions. The time was almost up. He recalled the plot. It did mention Tangwa's background. When she was in junior high school, her parents divorced because of their relationship. In fact, Tangwa's father cheated on her. The two of them each had a child. Tangwa was left in the country with her father. Her mother took her younger sister overseas. Not long after, her father remarried with that mistress. She started to be a boarder and basically didn't go home. And her father only gave her living expenses. They didn't get to see each other often. Chapter 2807. Over the next few days, Chu Yen could clearly feel a sense of joy in Tangwa's words. You seem very happy these days. Did something good happen? Tangwa did not hide anything. My mother is coming back in a few days. Of course I'm happy. I see. Chu Yen did not know about Tangwa's family situation. Out of respect, he did not do any research. Because of her condition, he did not want his actions to make her feel insecure. He would accompany her until she opened her heart to him and was willing to share her life with him. He could not do much. He could only accompany her and make her happy. How was the recent fan meeting? It was pretty good. The fans were a little enthusiastic. That's because they like your book. That's why they are so enthusiastic. That's true. So, I'm thinking of a better work. I hope it won't disappoint them. Tangwa suddenly remembered that the cover of Chu Yan's new book, as well as the character design, was also drawn by her. She remembered that when they went out to play, Chu Yan did not seem to be thinking of a new book, but another theme. At that time, they even discussed that the protagonist of the new book should be an artist. At that time, he even said that he got the inspiration from her paintings. But later, when the new book came out, it was not that book. Chu Yan, didn't you say before that the protagonist of the new book was about an artist? How did it change? Chu Yan did not expect Tangwa to ask this question. The reason why he gave up on that theme was because he discovered the secret hidden in Tangwa's paintings. It was very likely to be related to her illness. After spending so much time together, his feelings for her were just a step away from being exposed. So, even though at that time, he had already come up with a rough outline of the story, he still gave it up. Because he only wanted her to be happy. He did not want to write about the artist's secret. Otherwise, when she saw it, it would bring back some bad memories. Moreover, if he were to write about that theme, the artist's problem could only be solved from the mental and psychological aspects. If they did not know each other, it did not matter. She might not read his book. It was just that they were too familiar with each other and he cared too much about her. Therefore, he didn't want any possibility of hurting her to happen. Even though he knew very well that writing that book would definitely bring about a qualitative breakthrough in his reputation. But was fame and fortune more important than the people he cared about? He never wrote books for fame or fortune. If he wanted to become famous, he could follow his mathematics mentor and enter the field of mathematics. If he wanted to make money, he might as well become a psychiatrist. That profession was very profitable. The cheaper ones cost a few hundred per hour, and the more expensive ones were unknown. These thoughts flashed through his mind in an instant. Coming back to his senses, Chu Yen answered Tanggua's question. There was a problem with the concept, so I gave up. The story that I had previously conceived can no longer be deduced. So that's how it is. But your new book is also not bad. It's very popular with many people. His evaluations seem to be even higher than before. Speaking of which, Chu Yen, you've been improving. Chu Yen was happy to be praised. I plan to go out and play after the fan meeting. Do you want to come? Go ahead. You've been working for months. It's time to relax. Chapter 2808. The waiting time was very long. Recently, in addition to working, chatting, and talking to Chu Yen every day, Tanggua sat by the window, looking at the traces of the plane in the sky. The system realized that whenever a plane flew by, Tanggua's eyes would light up for a moment, even if it wasn't the day yet. Finally, it was the day that Mother Tang said she would be coming back. A few days ago, Tanggua had hired someone to clean up the house. She had also decorated the other empty room. It was classy and cozy. The night before, Mother Tang had called her to say that the flight would be at 7 in the morning and would arrive in the afternoon. Therefore, Tanggua got up very early. First, she went to buy a chicken and some other side dishes. After stewing the chicken soup, she washed the other dishes and prepared them well. She wasn't in the mood to work the whole morning. Even when people called her or sent her messages, she was distracted. At noon, she casually made something to eat. She even took an afternoon nap in order to feel better. She left for the airport at 3 in the morning and arrived at 3:30. She didn't wait impatiently. He waited until 8 o'clock in the evening. According to the time that Mother Tang had told her, if she wasn't late, she would arrive at 7 in the evening. However, it was very normal for the plane to be delayed for various objective reasons. She sat there and waited without the slightest bit of impatience. Before she knew it, 8 in the evening passed and the clock pointed to 9. 9 o'clock had passed, and it was now 10 o'clock. Late at night, in the wee hours of the morning, Tanggua looked at the place where the familiar person had walked out. She couldn't hide the disappointment in her eyes. In the end, she remembered to ask the staff. She shouldn't have made such a mistake. In the end, she asked the staff and they told her that the flight she was waiting for had already landed. Hence, the person she was waiting for wouldn't be coming. She took a taxi back to her place and called Mother Tang. Although she didn't say a word, the system could tell that she wanted to ask Mother Tang if she was delayed by something. However, the phone was busy. After making several calls, she could no longer continue. The chicken soup was already cold. She heated it up again and made the clean dishes into something she thought would taste the best. At 2 o'clock in the morning, she sat at the dining table, slowly drinking chicken soup and eating. The system wanted to say something, but no matter what it said, it was useless. The current Madam Host was completely immersed in this matter. Simple words of comfort were completely useless. After dinner, Tanggua fell asleep. The next day, she woke up early as usual. She glanced at her phone and saw that there were no missed calls. Then she went back to work. In the afternoon, Tanggua received a call from her mother. When she saw the familiar caller ID, her dull eyes finally lit up. "Mom, I'm sorry, Xiaogua. I didn't get on that flight yesterday because your sister accidentally hurt her hand. Is my sister's injury serious? It's not very serious. It won't affect her playing the violin. It's just that she can't touch water for now. I see. I was wondering why Mom would miss an appointment for no reason. Alright, Mom, are you changing your flight? Chapter 2809. Xiaogua, I might not be able to come back for a while. Your little sister hurt her hand and I have to take care of her. Mother Tang sighed softly. Your little sister is a stupid girl. I told her to make some food this morning, but she called me halfway and said she cut her finger. She's so clumsy, I'm really worried about leaving. The system noticed that Tangua was originally smiling, but when she heard that she cut her finger, her smile instantly disappeared. If your little sister was as good as Xiaogua, then I wouldn't have to worry so much. The food Xiaogua shared with me before looked, smelled, and tasted great. It makes me miss those delicious food. It's a pity that I didn't get to eat Xiaogua's food again. Then when will I be able to come back? Well, it's not easy to apply for a holiday here. It might take a long time. I'll give you a call once I've applied for one. After chatting for a while, Mother Tang said she had to prepare afternoon tea for Tangua's little sister and hurriedly hung up. After the call was hung up, Tangua stared at her phone for a very long time. The system even recorded this data. She stared at her phone for 2 hours, 39 minutes, and 12 seconds in the afternoon. During this time, the avatar on her chat account was still flashing nonstop. She replied to the other party one by one and comforted them. Then, unlike before, she added, I suddenly feel a little sad today. Can we talk? Xiaogua, you said you're sad right now? How can that be? Why would you be sad? Are you using this method to make me happy? Okay, I'm already very happy. Thank you. I'm going to log off first. I feel a little sad today too. Can we talk? Xiaogua, are you joking? Why would I believe that you're sad? You must be joking. Okay, I'm going to log off. I'm still a little busy here. Can we talk? I suddenly feel a little sad. Ah, how rare. Xiaogua, I never thought that anything would make you sad. If you really want to talk, wait until I get back. I still have to work overtime. The system couldn't stand it anymore. It actually wanted to stop this from happening. Seeing Tangua's message after message, everyone thought that she wasn't someone who would be sad. Even if she was sad, she would get over it quickly. They all used the excuse that they were very busy and didn't have time to talk. Some even pretended not to see it. After sending the message to the people she contacted, Tangua didn't wait for an answer. Then, she took out her phone and began to make a call. Xiaogua, sorry, I'm a little busy right now. I'm outside. If there's anything, we can talk about it another day. I'm on a blind date. There's a party at the company. In the end, Tangua called Yuan Linlin. Xiao, it's me. How rare. Why did you take the initiative to call me? To meet me? I do. Okay, since you've been with me so many times in the past, let's meet at the same place? The system finally heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that Yuan Linlin wasn't that bad. At this time, she was still willing to accompany Tangua. Half an hour later, the two met. Chapter 2810. So you're feeling down today? When Yuan Linlin found out that Tangua was feeling down, she didn't seem worried at all. She smiled and patted Tangua on the shoulder. Why would you feel down for no reason? This isn't like you. There are always times when people are unhappy, right? That's true. If it were someone else, I might have comforted them. But Yuan Linlin shook her head and said with a smile, I believe that you'll be happy soon. Everyone knows that no matter what happens, no matter how bad it is, you'll recover quickly. Sometimes I really envy you. You don't care about anything. You don't seem to care about anything. Nothing will make you sad all the time. No matter what the hurdle is, you'll be able to get through it. Remember the military training when you were in school? The instructor said that you weren't allowed to take leave for any problems. At that time, I think I was on my period and had a low fever. But I managed to get through it. After that, I was on a drip for a few days. Yuan Linlin continued, halfway through, I remember that a few girls were also on their periods, so they asked for leave from the instructor. Speaking of which, They didn't get any points deducted in the end. I guess the instructor was afraid that something would happen to them. I didn't expect you to be fine. Tangwa took a sip of wine and said, after that, I asked for leave from the instructor. But he didn't agree? But Tangwa took another sip of wine and said, he said that I looked good. He patted my shoulder and told me to hang in there and get through it. He also told me not to pretend to be sick. He could tell that I was fine when he saw my complexion. That was because she had always lived a regular life. She was well-proportioned and didn't eat strange things. She also didn't diet blindly to lose weight. She also kept exercising, so her complexion was much better than others. Many girls who were weak in order to lose weight usually didn't look good. When it came to their periods, they would definitely look worse. At that time, she was on her period and had a low fever, so her face was a little red. The instructor thought that she was lying and wanted to rest, so he didn't allow her to. After Yuan Linlin heard it, she couldn't help but laugh. I'm dying of laughter. So there is such a thing. Later, did the instructor know that you were seriously ill? But at that time, it was already over. I guess he didn't know. Are you feeling better? I knew you wouldn't be sad for long. Yuan Linlin stood up and looked at the lively dance floor. Since I'm here, I'm going to have some fun. Otherwise, I'll have come for nothing. She looked back at Tangwa and saw that she didn't look sad. Then I'll go play. You don't seem to have any problems. Seeing that Yuan Linlin quickly made new friends, Tangwa no longer wanted to say what she wanted to say. Just like before, after the party, Yuan Linlin wanted to go out with her new friends and say goodbye to Tangwa. You can go home now. It'll be fine tomorrow. It's not a big deal. I believe in you. Yuan Linlin waved at Tangwa in the sports car. Tangwa took a taxi home. As usual, she washed up and went to sleep. The system thought that the day would pass just like that. But he still didn't dare to let his guard down, because that incident would happen at 5 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. On a summer day, the sky had just turned bright and the sun hadn't come out yet. Chapter 28:11. Late at night, in the wee hours of the morning. Just when the system thought that it would not happen, Tangwa, who was lying on the bed, suddenly sat up. She walked lightly to the fridge in her pajamas. She took out 4 cans of beer from the fridge. Holding the beer in the plastic bag and her phone, she opened the door and walked out. She walked through the emergency passageway all the way to the rooftop. At that time, the system's heart almost jumped out. It did not know what would happen next and hurriedly connected to Chu Yan's phone signal. However, it could not reach him now. There was no signal at all. This was going to make the system anxious to death. It suddenly remembered that Chu Yan was going to take a plane tonight. It must be because of this that his phone was turned off. He quickly checked the flight schedule. If the plane wasn't late, Chu Yan's flight time to the other city should be about 2 hours. Chu Yan's flight was at 10:30 p.m. It was now midnight, which meant that the plane was not late. There were still 30 minutes before he could get off the plane. The time of the original owner's death was at 5 o'clock a.m. There should be enough time. The system planned to connect the image here to Chu Yan's phone once there was a signal. If it was someone else, it would not be so sure. However, if it was Chu Yan, it believed that Chu Yan would be able to stop this and help the host achieve what she wanted to do. Tangwa was leaning against the rooftop. There was a railing here. If she was not looking for death, there would not be any danger. If she wanted to die, she would have to climb up. Just as the system thought this, it saw Tangwa climb up and sit on it. If it had a heart, it would have been scared to death. Dear host, can you hear what I am saying? The system called a few times and found that Tangwa was just sitting there, drinking her beer, completely ignoring its voice. The phone was placed at the side. It was lit up. The interface was actually the address book. The system was quick-witted and added Chu Yan's name to the address book, making the name look especially conspicuous. However, Tangwa did not look back. He did not know what to do. When the 4 cans of beer were finished, it was almost 12:30 p.m. The system was running around in circles anxiously, hoping that time would pass faster. At this moment, he suddenly heard a familiar voice. I've already told you that no one in this world needs you. No one will care about you. There's no need for someone like you to stay in this world. Look, you've suppressed me for so long. You've done so many things to make yourself happy. You've packed your time every day so that you won't let your imagination run wild. Is it just to make me disappear? You've always been a soft-hearted person who cares about feelings. You'll always be affected, sad, and hurt. As long as you are sad, hurt, disappointed, or in pain, I will appear. Stop struggling and give up. It's been more than 10 years. Don't you think you've wasted your efforts? You can save others, but no one can save you. This place doesn't suit you. Listen to me. Leave this place. If I leave, I will be free. When the system heard this, it was shocked and trembled. Was this an evil second personality? So, the one who was sick was this second personality? Or the original owner was sick, and it became very serious. But she didn't want to get sick, so the illness turned into a second personality? I suddenly realized that you're right. This different tone made the system call, but Tangwa did not respond. I'm you. I'm also you, but I'm also an existence that you despise. However, no matter how much you despise and hate me, I will never betray you or leave you. Come, follow me. I'll take you away from here. Tangwa did not move. The system heaved a sigh of relief. This meant that the body was still controlled by the host. The second personality should have a weakness. At this moment he contacted Chu Yen and was overjoyed. Chapter 28:12. The hotel is not far from the library. Considering that you have other plans tomorrow, they have arranged for you to meet the book fans at 8 in the morning. There shouldn't be any problems at the book signing in the morning. Is there any problem on your end? Chu Yen had just gotten off the plane and was about to turn on his phone. He shook his head instinctively and said, "There's no problem. Just make the arrangements." He had already turned on his phone. He was about to send a message to Tangwa. After all, it was early in the morning. He did not intend to call her at such a late hour as it would disturb her. Perhaps he had developed a habit of wanting to talk to her no matter where he went, where he was, or what new place he was in. Even if she was sleeping and did not see these messages, he wanted to send them to her. At least when she woke up in the morning, she would be able to see these messages and know what he was doing. Chu Yan's lips curled into a smile. Just as he was about to send the message, for some reason, his phone seemed to be out of control. The screen of his phone flickered and it seemed as though someone was video chatting with him. He wanted to exit the video immediately, thinking that his phone had been infected with a virus. However, when the camera zoomed in on a figure and he saw the face clearly, he was so shocked that he almost threw his phone to the ground. Soon, the image changed again. The camera was shot from a high floor. Although there were many cars and neon lights below, when he looked up, he could see the beautiful night view of the city. However, he did not admire it at all. When the camera turned to Tangwa's face again, he wanted to fly back immediately and rush to her side. Banquet? What's wrong? The person who spoke was Chu Yan's editor. After all, there were some things that he still needed to do. Hence, he was busy organizing the book fans' meeting. After taking a few steps, she realized that Chu Yen had stopped moving. He was holding his phone and standing there in a daze. She turned around and patted him on the shoulder. Inadvertently, she glanced at the phone screen and was stunned. With the current position of the video, not only can it capture Tangwa's figure, but it can also capture her sitting in a very dangerous place. At first, she thought that Chu Yen was chatting with the person he liked. After all, his assistant had said that Chu Yen had been typing on his phone recently, and he would laugh out loud as he typed. It was impossible that he wasn't in love. "Editor, I might have a problem." Chu Yen gripped his phone tightly. His hands were trembling and his eyes were red. "I might not be able to attend the fan meeting tomorrow. Please help me postpone it. For the fans who signed up this time, I'll give them the autographed books for free and give them some compensation." The editor looked at the situation on the screen and asked, "What's going on?" "I don't know, but I have to go back now." The editor nodded with a serious expression. "Why don't you give her a call first?" He pointed at Tangwa on the screen and said, "Even if you have wings now, you won't be able to reach her immediately. It will take nearly an hour to fly there, and you have to get on the plane immediately. According to the actual situation, there are fewer flights at night. There might not be any left here, so I can only buy a flight for tomorrow morning. Chu Yen shook his head. I'll call her right away. Chapter 28:13. But even if there are flights, I can't take them. Chu Yen took a deep breath. At this time, I have to keep talking to her at all times. I can't lose contact with her. So, what do you plan to do? I'll hire a car to go back. Chu Yen had already walked to another place. At this time, there's not even a train, let alone a car. How about this? Let's split up. I'll ask if there are any flights. If there are, you can tell me the address. I'll take the flight and you can hire a car to go back. All right? The editor patted his head. We can also call the police. Chu Yen thought about the voice he heard in the video and hesitated. In the end, he said, okay, we can call the police. He planned to talk to the police later and explain to them the special situation of Tangwa. Based on the situation, there was something wrong with her. They couldn't provoke her. The only thing the police could do was to put some cushions under the bed. Seeing that Chu Yen agreed, the editor sighed. Then that's it. Let's save her first. I'll talk to the people in charge of the book fan meeting. Then, I'll go check the tickets. Time is tight. After you call the police, you can leave. I won't accompany you. Chu Yen nodded and walked out hurriedly. He went to find a car first. At that time, he found a driver and knocked on the window. I'll give you 100,000 yuan. Send me to a place. At that time, the driver looked at him as if he was an idiot. He thought that he was crazy. I'll transfer 10,000 yuan to you first. Send me to wherever I go. Drive as fast as you can. After receiving the 10,000 yuan transfer, the driver slapped himself hard and then hurriedly invited Chu Yen to the car. Although he didn't know why this was so good, he had to do it because the other party dared to transfer 10,000 yuan to him so easily. Editor Chu Yen checked the flights first. He was told that there were no flights after midnight. After all, it wasn't the peak season. There were basically no flights after midnight. Therefore, he told Chu Yen that since he couldn't go there in time, he could only help here. Chu Yen had already called the police when he was in the car. He directly called a former classmate and good friend of his and told him about Tangwa's special situation. He told him that it was best not to use any excessive words or actions when making arrangements. Otherwise, it would easily anger her and he would call to communicate with her. After arranging everything, Chu Yen let out a sigh of relief. The image was very spiritual, and it was now stored in a small corner of his phone. He didn't know who did it or how it was done. Right now, he was not in the mood to delve deeper into this matter. He dialed the number that he could memorize even with his eyes closed. His heart was beating very violently, as if it would jump out of his body at any moment. What are you waiting for? No one will care about you, even if you did so much. Look, in the end, I still came out. Look at those people you've helped. They're selfish and never thought of you. And that so-called good friend of yours, has she ever cared about your feelings? Do you still miss this world? Be good, listen to me. Leave them. Abandon them all. Leave their world and you will be at peace. Chapter 28:14. Leave. You won't be so tired if you leave them. We are one. I'm the only one who won't hurt you. In this world, there's no need for you to exist. When the system heard these words, it was extremely anxious. When the phone rang, it hurriedly helped Tangwa raise the volume of the phone. The second personality's sinister voice was cut off by the sudden call. Tangwa tilted her head and looked down. When she saw the caller ID on the phone, she slowly reached out to answer it. Suddenly, her face twisted as if she was trying her best to control the hand that reached out. Her voice was flustered and exasperated. You're not allowed to answer it. No one will care about you or care about you. Don't get your hopes up. No one will understand what you're really thinking. No one will understand. If you answer this call, you'll only end up getting more hurt. However, Tangwa's hand didn't seem to be controlled by the second personality. She still held onto the phone. The second personality shrieked. I already said that you're not allowed to answer it. Do you still want to get hurt? Why won't you listen? You've tried so hard to suppress me. For over 10 years, you've pretended to be so perfect. You didn't allow yourself to show even the slightest bit of weakness, but you failed. You failed. This means that this world doesn't need you. They don't need you. You should leave. Do you understand? You're saying that you're doing this for my own good? Compared to the second personality's sharp voice, this voice was much gentler. Of course, other than me, no one will care about you or care about you. Tanghua glanced at the caller ID on the phone and asked again, since you're doing this for my own good, why are you trying so hard to stop me from doing what I want to do? Why are you stopping me and ruining my peaceful life? Because your kind of life, the so-called perfection, the so-called meaning, is completely meaningless. That's just what you think. The corners of Tanghua's lips curved. She tapped on the phone to answer the call. Almost the instant she tapped on it, she heard a voice from the other side. Xiaogua, is that you? Chu Yan's heart raced. God knew how impatient he was waiting for her to answer the call. He wanted nothing more than to smash the phone. It's me. Hearing her calm voice, Chu Yan felt an indescribable pressure in his heart. He felt uncomfortable. It's already so late. Why aren't you sleeping? What are you doing? To be safe, he didn't directly tell her that she was in a very dangerous position because he didn't want to anger her. Tanghua, I'm having trouble sleeping. Chu Yan almost dropped his phone. He couldn't sleep well, so he went to the rooftop and sat on the railing. He even hung his legs in the air to look at the stars. Who are you trying to fool? Is it because you've been too busy with work recently and you're not feeling well? Is that why you have insomnia? It's almost dawn. Go to the hospital. No matter how tired you are, you have to take care of your body. Tanghua automatically ignored this sentence and asked, why are you calling at this time? Aren't I holding that book fans meet and greet? Not long after they got off the plane. As for calling you, I don't know why, but I suddenly felt like calling you. I see. I've been running around outside for a few days, and I suddenly missed the times when I went out to play with you. Why don't we set a time to go out and have some fun when I'm back? That's good, but... Chapter 28:15. But I don't know when I'll be free. Chu Yan's heart skipped a beat. He quickly said, work will always be done. When you're not busy, you'll be free. I can wait for you. If we can't go far, we can play around the city. It won't take long. Hearing the silence on the other side, Chu Yan's heart was in a mess. In a daze, he thought of an idea. Xiaogua, do you want to sleep now? I don't want to sleep. I'm not sleepy now. Then I'll chat with you. Speaking of which, our lives are very regular. We haven't had the experience of chatting in the middle of the night. What do you want to talk about? We can talk about anything. We can talk about fun things, good food, the scenery, the weather, the temperature, life, troubles. We can talk about anything we want to talk about. Anyway, you can't sleep. I'm free now. If you don't want to sleep, let's sit down and talk. Then let's talk about life and troubles. Tanghua's response made Chu Yan's heart spin a few times. He felt that he had to say what he wanted to say next. It was very likely that every word he said would affect a choice she was facing. Okay, let's talk about life and troubles. Let's talk about you first? Chu Yan asked. Recently, have you had any troubles? Yes, a little. Tanghua said. I'm just suddenly doubting life. I have a feeling that everything I do is meaningless and unnecessary. I've told many people about this, but they don't think much of it. They think that I shouldn't have such troubles. They all think that I'm living such a good life. How can I have troubles and think that life is meaningless? Chu Yan's heart skipped a beat, but at the same time, he heaved a sigh of relief. It was right that she was willing to chat with him. Actually, sometimes I have this feeling too. I doubt myself, doubt my life, and doubt the necessity of my existence. Look at me. In the eyes of many people, I'm considered successful, right? You should be very successful. Yes, in everyone's eyes, I'm very successful. But there's no rule that says that successful people can't have troubles or be sad, right? It's not like he's made of wood. Chu Yan continued, in the past, I liked to complain to the people I knew in the group about how anxious I was. Later, they all said that I didn't know how lucky I was, and teased me that I was just imagining things when I was full. Oh, I see. Then do you feel that life is even more meaningless? No, Chu Yan quickly denied. Why should I feel that my life is meaningless because of other people's denial? Others don't understand me. They aren't me. They don't know my troubles. They only think that I've succeeded and am living better than them. They shouldn't have negative emotions. Although at the beginning, I also had that kind of world-weary feeling. Later on, I realized that I shouldn't think that way. What do you understand? I understand. Don't pay too much attention to what those people say. Whether I'm doing well or not, it really has nothing to do with them. If they really cared about me, even if I said that I had a little trouble, they would be very concerned and ask me what was wrong. Actually, this was because some book fans had sent me a letter. In short, they would write in the letter that no matter how busy you are at the banquet, they hope that you'll be well. You can't drag your body down just because you're rushing the manuscript. No matter what, you have to be happy. Chapter 28:16. Look, the book fans who are so far away from me and perhaps have never met me are all concerned about my physical and mental health. Their greatest wish is for me to write my book happily, and not for the sake of writing a book. Book fans who truly care about me have always been this tolerant. Why is it that those who seem to be closer to each other don't care? From these experiences, I understand that there is no need to care about what people who don't truly care about you say. You only need to care about the people who truly care about you. Tangua asked again, what if there is no one who cares about you? That won't happen, Xiaogua. Even if there is a person in this world who is hated by 90% of the world, there will always be someone who cares about that person among the remaining 10%. Tangua did not believe him. How can you prove it? Chu Yan's brain was about to explode. How could he prove it? He couldn't possibly say that he really cared about her, right? He did not point this out because he did not want to agitate her. Very quickly, Chu Yan thought of another idea. Xiaogua, have you ever posted anything about yourself on Weibo? If you really want me to prove it, just follow what I'm about to do. You will be able to prove that I'm right. Tangua's interest was piqued. Okay, I really haven't posted anything about myself on Weibo. I'm a little curious. What do I need to do? Chu Yan, just post that something happened today and you can't sleep until now. You don't know when you'll be able to get over it. Just follow what I said and post it. Soon, you'll know if I'm right or not. Are you sure that doing this will prove it? Chu Yan, I'm sure. If the final result is different, you can hit me. No, I'll come over and let you hit me. How about that? Hearing the laughter from the other end of the line, Chu Yan relaxed a little. Do you dare to try? I'll try. Following Chu Yan's instructions, Tangua translated those words into text and posted them on her Weibo. She almost never shared anything about her life on Weibo. I've already posted it. Let's wait for 10 minutes. We'll see the results in 10 minutes. At this moment, Chu Yan hurriedly clicked on the strange group chat that he had joined in order to read all of Tangua's works. As he chatted with Tangua, he took a screenshot of Tangua's Weibo post and posted it in the group. He then added a sentence, Guoguojin is still awake at this hour and even posted such a strange post. Did something happen? Do you know how to contact Guoguojin herself? I'm really worried about her. After all, she had never posted such things on her Weibo. System, holy shit, is this guy a drama queen? However, this seemed to work too. Sure enough, 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning was the peak period for night owls. This message was sent in several group chats, and it received the attention of those who liked Tangua's works. They could be considered as her fans. Within a few minutes, they found Tangua's Weibo and commented on it with words of concern. Not only that, but they also had selfish motives. They typed in long paragraphs as if they were writing a thesis. Those who had contacted Tangua's Weibo account also secretly left messages for her. Xiaogua, 10 minutes have passed. It's time to witness a miracle. Chapter 28:17. Tangua opened Weibo and instantly received a lot of notifications. Guegua, you have to take good care of yourself. Guegua, no matter what happens, I will be your strong backing. Go to sleep. When the sun rises tomorrow, everything will be better. Luck will soon befall you. Guegua, no matter what happens, I hope that you will be fine. You will be fine forever. Guegua, sleep early. When you wake up tomorrow morning, can you tell us that you are safe? We were really worried when we saw your Weibo post in the middle of the night. If you are the only one who saw it, you don't have to reply to us. It's too tiring to reply one by one. Just send us a status update and we will know your situation. No matter what, I will stand behind you and support you. If possible, I am willing to listen to you and accompany you through the difficulties in front of you. Chuyan didn't say anything else. He could see Tangwa's actions. He didn't know why, but no matter what he did, the small window with Tangwa's figure was always on his phone. As for why, he didn't think too much about it. Instead, he was very grateful to the person who did this. When he saw Tangwa burying her head in reading the comments and messages, he temporarily breathed a sigh of relief. When Tangwa made a move, it was already an hour later. It took her so long because she had read all the comments and private messages. Chuyan, you seem to have one. When Chuyan heard this, he quickly said, "Do you believe me now?" Xiaogua, have you seen the sunrise? I have only seen the sun when I woke up in the morning. As for the sunrise, it should be when the sun just rises. I haven't seen it yet. I usually wake up around 7 in the morning. I haven't seen it either. Chuyan didn't lie. Although he liked to play, he really hadn't waited for the sunrise. Do you want to sleep now? No. I don't want to sleep either. Chuyan said, why don't we play a game and wait for the sunrise together? Although we are not in the same place, we can do the same thing. Thinking about it is quite beautiful. You can't agree. Her second personality suddenly appeared, but Tangwa reacted quickly and covered the phone with her hand. She smiled and put the phone to her lips. Okay, let's wait for the sunrise together. Waiting was undoubtedly difficult. Chuyan wished that the driver's car could grow wings and fly him over. I'm really looking forward to the sunrise with you today. I'm guessing it will be very beautiful. Tangwa looked up at the sky full of stars and said, it should be very beautiful. The stars tonight are very bright. Really? I can't see any stars here. I really envy you. How about I take a picture for you? Of course, I really want to see how beautiful the stars in your sky are. Chuyan said. He quickly received a picture of the starry sky. It was indeed beautiful. I have a bright moon here. Let me take a picture for you. Then he sent the picture over. As the saying goes, the moon is bright and the stars are sparse. Tangwa's sky was filled with stars, which was especially beautiful. On Chuyan's side, there was a bright moon hanging above. The two pictures were side by side, which made up for that regret. Chapter 28:18. Time passed unknowingly. 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, 5:30, 5:40, 5:50, 5:59, 6 o'clock. When the car drove into the city where Tangwa lived and got closer and closer to her house, Chuyan's mouth was dry and his eyelids were heavy. He looked at the sky that was slowly getting brighter and heard Tangwa's voice from time to time. His heart seemed to be filled with something. Chuyan, look at the sunrise. Is there a sunrise over there? Chuyan looked at the small window on his phone and took a picture of the sunrise. At the same time, he didn't forget to take a picture of Tangwa's figure. He didn't know who had helped him, but he was very grateful. I saw it. Chuyan looked at the sky from the window. The tall buildings blocked a lot of light, but he could still vaguely feel that the sun would be scorching today. The light of the morning sun shone through the floors and scattered around, giving people a feeling of hope and warmth. The sunrise is indeed beautiful, Tangwa said. At this time, Chuyan had already arrived at Tangwa's building. He said to the driver, I'll transfer the money to you later. The driver seemed to have understood something and only nodded. He looked at Chuyan's back as he ran up the stairs. He then looked at the inflatable mattresses downstairs and the firefighters who were ready to go. When Chuyan arrived at the rooftop, he was already sweating profusely because he was too anxious. Even though he knew that the probability of Tangwa jumping down now was very small, he still couldn't rest assured if he didn't bring her down personally. His legs dangling in the air made people tremble in fear. Tangwa seemed to have heard something. She held her phone and turned around to see him walking towards her. Chuyan? It's me. Chuyan slowly walked over. Why you here? To watch the sunrise? Chuyan smiled at Tangwa. I don't know why, but this is my first time watching the sunrise. I really want to watch it with you. It's boring to watch it alone. So, you came here? Yeah, I really want to watch the sunrise with you. I couldn't wait to rush over. Chu Yen still slowly walked over, paying attention to Tangwa's expression all the time, fearing that his behavior would stimulate her. Fortunately, I took a shortcut and arrived just in time for the sunrise. To be honest, I have never been so impulsive in my life. I just want to quietly wait for the sunrise with you. Tangwa smiled. You're right. You're right. Chu Yen walked slowly towards Tangwa in the same light. Even though the light was a little dazzling, it couldn't make him close his eyes. Finally, he walked to the edge and was very close to Tangwa. Chu Yen did not say that he would forcefully pull Tangwa back. Instead, he leaned against her side in a relaxed manner, ready to defend himself at any time in case anything happened. However, he appeared to be very relaxed. Chu Yen looked at the round sun in the sky. Beside the sun, there were colorful clouds. The sunrise is really beautiful. This trip was not in vain. Don't you have a fan meeting? Tangwa asked. Chu Yan's face had the same smile as before. I plan to share this beautiful sunrise with my fans because it's too beautiful. I don't want to miss it. I want to share it with them even more. In the car, Chu Yen had already thought of a plan. When the time came, Tangwa would definitely ask this question. Chapter 28:19. In any case, this time, he had to give his fans an explanation. So, he decided to give them this beautiful sunrise. He took out his cell phone and sent a message to his friend to apologize. After all, this incident had caused them a lot of trouble. At the same time, he told him about his decision. Although some of his subordinates were against it, they still agreed to his request in the end. However, they agreed to remove the air cushion on the condition that Tangwa came down from the railing. Chu Yen agreed. He first posted on Weibo that he wanted to share with his fans about the live broadcast of the sunrise. Then, he opened the live broadcast room. Xiaogua, do you want to watch the sunrise from another position? Chu Yen walked around in a circle and finally found a spot with a good view. I think this angle is perfect for watching the sunrise. When he said this, Chu Yen was still a little nervous. After all, he wasn't sure if Tangwa would listen to him. Tangwa glanced back at Chu Yen. Everyone who heard the commotion had their hearts in their mouths. Chu Yen hadn't spoken to Tangwa yet, so many people had heard her talking to herself. The reason why he had agreed to Chu Yan's request to resolve the matter was because the location she was in was simply too dangerous. It was impossible for him to use any tools to bring her down without harming her. About a minute passed. The people who were watching from afar were all nervous. And Chu Yen, who had been standing beside Tangwa, noticed a subtle expression on her face. At that time, she gave off a sinister feeling. But soon, that feeling disappeared. It was as if another evil spirit had been suppressed. Then he saw Tangwa reach out to him. Chu Yen, help me. My legs are numb. Upon hearing this, everyone, including Chu Yen, heaved a sigh of relief. At that time, Chu Yen didn't think about anything else. He quickly grabbed her hand and hugged her. He carried her down from the railing. He quickly walked to a safe place. At this moment, he was finally able to put his heart at ease. Look at this location. Isn't the sunrise the most beautiful? Tangwa gently leaned on Chu Yan's body and looked in the direction he pointed. She didn't move her eyes away, as if she didn't find the sun dazzling. In fact, the light at this time was already a little dazzling. Is it nice? Chu Yan asked. Yes, Tangwa replied. Chu Yan smiled from the bottom of his heart. He held Tangwa's hand and had no intention of letting go. He said softly, Xiaogua, can we watch the sunrise together every day? I feel that it's not enough to see it once. In fact, it's not enough to see it for a lifetime. However, a lifetime is better than just seeing it once. System, you took the opportunity to be greedy for once. What a clever fellow. Tangwa smiled gently and held Chu Yan's hand. Of course, I've never seen a sunrise before. I didn't expect it to be so beautiful. There's really no point in watching it together. If it doesn't rain in the future, let's watch it together. If it doesn't rain, let's work together and listen to the sound of the rain. How about that? Chu Yan didn't let go of any opportunity. Tangwa agreed. Her eyes curved into crescents as she smiled. It was as if all the gloominess in her body had disappeared. The system felt that its energy was increasing and suddenly realized what was going on. Chapter 28:20. It hurriedly called, dear host, is that you? Are you out of the zone? Did your big cutie pull you out? It's me. Don't worry, Tongzi. You did very well this time. Although I had a final solution in the end, your help this time, and Chu Yan's involvement, gave me another idea. The system heaved a sigh of relief. It knew that the dear host would not be defeated so easily. She most likely had her own plans. Sure enough, it was not wrong. After Tangwa came down from the balcony railing, the people below all left. Although this time it was a close call, none of the people who were busy with this matter complained. To them, if the person standing on the top of the building would never fall down, they would be willing to put up an inflatable cushion 10 times, 100 times, 1,000 times, or even 10,000 times. Even if there was an inflatable cushion on more than 20 floors, the range of the inflatable cushion looked quite large, but there was a high chance that the person's life would be in danger. Therefore, after everything that happened today, they could only rejoice in their hearts and leave with satisfaction. When the sun rose slowly, the light became stronger and stronger. It was so bright that Chu Yan could not open his eyes. In fact, he was already a little sleepy. He had been busy the whole day yesterday and had not slept until now. However, the person leaning on his arm instantly made him excited as if he had been injected with chicken blood. Chu Yan, thank you for coming. Why are you saying this? I just want to watch the sunrise with you. Really, I was not joking before. I want to watch the sunrise with you for the rest of our lives. Chu Yan saw that Tangwa's eyes were clear and knew that she had recovered. Of course, if you are not willing, I will not force you. He would wait, hope, and work hard. Sooner or later, she would accompany him to watch the sunrise for the rest of their lives. Tangwa saw Chu Yan's persistent gaze and could not stop smiling. She gently held his hand. Did you eat last night? I did not have time. I was going to eat as soon as I got off the plane. Then you rushed over to watch the sunrise with me. You did not eat. Chu Yan did not lie and nodded honestly. After all, I am only a young man in my 20s. When I encounter something that I really want to do, I will definitely be so impulsive that I forget to eat. That's a good excuse. Tangwa pulled Chu Yan and said, let's go back to my place. It's time for me to have breakfast. I'll make some for you. You didn't sleep last night either. Why don't I order takeout? You can rest after eating. I like to cook it myself. Seeing that Tangwa was so persistent, Chu Yan did not force her. Then I'll help you. Let's cook together. We can't eat for free. We have to work in exchange for remuneration. System, a mangy dog will always be a mangy dog. It just had to find an excuse to work in exchange for payment. Tangwa agreed. Then, the two of them went downstairs hand in hand and returned to her house. Chu Yan was really helping with the chores. He carefully cut the vegetables, even the pots and pans. The vegetables were all cut by him. In the end, what Tangwa had to do was to ripen these materials. After enjoying a perfect breakfast and lunch, Chu Yan was ready to go back, but Tangwa had already handed him a set of clean pajamas. Chu Yan found that the pajamas were men's and felt a little jealous. However, he quickly ignored it. Now that she was his, he did not need to care so much about these small details. Only by being tolerant could he watch the sunrise with her for a lifetime. Tangwa immediately saw through his thoughts and said, last time, there was an online activity. These clothes were buy one get one free. Buy women's pajamas and get a set of men's pajamas. I just leaned against it. Your body is more solid, so this set of pajamas is just right. There's such a good thing? Chu Yan's displeasure disappeared. He opened the pajamas and carefully recalled Chi Yunfeng's figure in his mind. Suddenly, he laughed happily. He was a little taller than Chi Yunfeng. Chi Yunfeng did not like to exercise. He did not have any muscles on his body. He was different. He was someone who had been in the gym all year round. Although he did not have exaggerated muscles, the muscles on his body were still smooth. If Chi Yunfeng were to pass down this set, it would definitely be sloppy and unsightly. If he wore it, it would be different. He would definitely look handsome. I've already tidied up the room. Take a shower and go have a good rest. Chu Yen originally wanted to refuse. It was not good for a man and a woman to be alone. However, he was worried about her and finally agreed. It was better to guard. It would be more reassuring. System, what a joke. Chapter 28-21. Chu Yen was indeed very sleepy. After washing up, before he planned to go to the room Tangwa arranged for him, he still looked at her worriedly. I didn't rest last night. I'm a little sleepy. Hearing Tangwa's words, Chu Yen hurriedly urged her, then hurry up and wash up and sleep. Your life has always been very regular. If you suddenly stay up late, your body won't be able to take it. When you wake up, let's go out to eat, okay? Speaking of which, I haven't eaten at a restaurant in a long time. Tangwa agreed. Oh right, in the future, let's watch the sunrise. Don't wait at night. Go to bed early at night and wake up early in the morning. This way, you won't have to stay up late. It's good for your body, and you can watch the sunrise. What do you think? Okay, we'll do as you say. Actually, I don't like to stay up late either. Look, I'm very sleepy now. Seeing Tangwa go to the bathroom, Chu Yen went to the guest room. He glanced faintly at Tangwa's room and clenched his fist. One day, he would move from this guest room to the master bedroom. System, ambitious. Chu Yen didn't go to sleep immediately. Instead, he listened to the movements in the bathroom. When Tangwa came out and returned to the room, she didn't come out again. She should have fallen asleep. Only then did he lie down at ease. As soon as he lay down, he fell asleep. After a night of high concentration and being on tenterhooks, his brain was very tired. Now that the string in his brain had relaxed, he couldn't hold on anymore. Chu Yen had a dream. In the dream, he and Tangwa got married, and his wish of moving to the master bedroom was fulfilled. Later, they lived a very loving life. All the books he wrote, all the character designs, the illustrations, and the covers were all drawn by his wife, Tangwa. Later, she wouldn't take on 10 orders a month. As long as he had a new book, she would only take on 5 orders a month. The remaining 5 were all left for him. In the dream, he was often hated by Tangwa's fans, but he was very proud of it. Being spoiled by his wife like this, he was simply too happy. Just as he was feeling proud, Chu Yen woke up. Opening his eyes, he subconsciously looked to his side. Looking at the empty space beside him, he couldn't help but shake his head and smile. Could this be considered as him dreaming of what he thought of during the day? Looking at the time, only 20 minutes had passed. It seemed that he was really sick from missing her. The only solution was to move to her master bedroom. Chu Yen got up and poured a glass of water. He glanced at Tangwa's room. After drinking the water, he lay down and went back to sleep. They still had to go for dinner in the evening. After dinner, they might be able to arrange some other activities, so they had to rest up. In order to live in his future wife's master bedroom, he couldn't have any problems with his body. He had to be healthy. Perhaps it was a psychological cue, but this time, Chu Yen didn't dream and fell into a deep sleep in less than a minute. Chu Yen thought that Tangwa had also fallen asleep, but in fact, she was just lying down and hadn't fallen asleep at all. Is it because of him that you don't want to go with me? You really haven't learned your lesson. Even if he's very nervous about you now, he'll change sooner or later. Look at Chi Yun-feng. He used to have a good relationship with you, but later he fell in love with a little bitch. If you hadn't been suppressing me, I would have been able to control my body and take you away from this world. Chapter 28-22. Just wait and see. One day, you'll still think that I'm the best. Only I won't betray you. That man looks pretty good. It's just that he didn't get you. When he gets tired of you, he'll be like all the other men in the world. For example, our scumbag of a father who cheated on you after getting divorced. He got married with his pregnant mistress a few months after getting divorced. None of these men are good. Haven't you learned your lesson from our scumbag of a father and Chi Yun-feng? Dear host, this second personality seems to be very powerful. The system panted with anger. If it weren't for this second personality, the original owner wouldn't have jumped off a building so easily to end her young life. Even if she still chose this path in the future, at least the second personality wouldn't be bewitched every day. It wouldn't have happened so quickly. Maybe the original owner could find redemption? You keep saying that it's for my own good. Do you think that the solution to all this is to jump off a building and end your life? The second personality didn't move before because she was suppressed by Tanghua. Previously, she said that even if Chu Yen didn't come, she wouldn't jump off a building in the end. The reason why she chose to completely absorb all the emotions of the original owner was that when she received the memories, she found that there were many gaps. As time passed, some of the missing memories were slowly being filled in. For example, in the memories, there was no mention of Mother Tang calling her. In fact, it should be said that in the memories she received, there were many scenes that made her sad and devastated. They were all very vague. When it happened, it would give her a feeling that it was in the memories. When it didn't happen, she couldn't remember that there were such sad things. As for Chi Yunfeng and Ran En, she could remember them so clearly. She guessed that these two people were the male and female leads and had a little halo. At first, she guessed that the original owner should have an illness in her heart. But she didn't guess that things were much more serious than she thought. Not only was the original owner sick, but she might have fallen ill not long after her parents divorced. Because everyone thought that she was sensible and could take care of herself, they never considered her feelings. Many things were suppressed in her heart, and in the end she fell ill. But when she fell ill, she always remembered her mother's words. She told her to be strong and take care of herself. So, she was strong and tried her best to suppress the pain in her heart. It was under this intense suppression that her second personality appeared. Her second personality had been instigating her to betray her. Since everyone didn't want her anymore, she might as well fall. However, she wasn't willing to fall. Instead, she used her own method to prove that she could really live well and take care of herself, slowly suppressing her second personality. She was so busy every day that her life was packed to the brim. After being busy during the day, she could fall asleep as soon as she laid down. When she was tired and sleepy, her second personality wouldn't appear to affect her life and instigate her to become a world-weary and vicious person. It was worth mentioning that when she was in junior high, her second personality had once instigated her to secretly tear the homework books of the girls in her class and put nails and glue on their chairs. He added chalk powder to the ink box. However, because the original owner was a kind-hearted girl, she was never willing to cause pain to others because of her own misfortune. Chapter 28-23. Other than teaching the original owner to mess with her classmates, the second personality also wanted to teach her to be a bad child. At that time, the second personality was actually a child too. She did all those things to attract attention. But the original owner denied all these. Her personality became quieter and quieter. In the eyes of the teachers and classmates, she was a good student with good results. She proved time and time again that she could live well, causing the second personality to be gradually suppressed. Until today, those terrible things came one after another and finally broke the wall of her heart that she had built to protect herself. In the middle of the night, it was easy for her to be dazed and depressed. It was also lonely. Her mind was empty and it was easy for her to let her thoughts run wild. The second personality suddenly appeared and instigated her to jump off the roof. It was too easy. This world doesn't need us. Isn't it good to leave? The second personality spoke again, her words sharp and piercing. Since there's no place for us in this world, what's wrong with abandoning this world? You said you're doing this for my own good? Of course. Other than me, who else would do this for your own good? If you were really living well, would I appear? The second personality's voice became more intense, and she was almost shouting. If I want you to live well, I won't exist. You have to know this. But I don't want to leave this world. I want to live well in this world. But do you want to live well? Look at your terrible life. It looks so perfect on the surface. Who knows what kind of suffering is hidden under your perfect body and perfect living conditions? You're unhappy. Since you're unhappy here, you should give up here. Am I wrong? You're running away. You want to give up this world and run away from all the bad things here. That's why you keep tempting me to leave. Actually, you're the one who's most afraid of facing this world. If you really want me to live well, why are you hiding by the side and watching me hit a wall again and letting those people hurt me? Tangwa said with a smile. You just want to see me bleed and then prove that your thoughts are right. Then you can proudly take me and give up on this world. Since you said that you're the only person who cares about me and is sincere to me, why are you mocking me when I'm sad and not comforting me softly, hand in hand with me as a good friend? Other people don't treat me well and ignore me. Why can't you say something like you'll accompany me? I think this is far more useful than what you said about taking me away from this world. You know what I need, but you also know that in my current state, basically no one can know what I need. You didn't care because you wanted to escape from this world, because you are the negative side that I separated from. Even though we've already parted ways, you're still an illness that's buried deep in my heart. Tangwa continued, actually, it's not your fault. You were born negative. You were stripped away by me. In your world, there's only darkness, negativity, sadness, resistance, escape. You don't know what it means to move towards a new hope, and you don't understand what happiness is. Originally, I had planned to swallow you whole after luring you out that day. Chapter 28-24. After Chu Yen appeared, I changed my mind. I want you to disappear willingly. Next, you can watch me live a happy life and experience what true happiness is. The system felt numb all over. As expected, the host wouldn't screw up just because of a small second personality. So she wanted to lure her out and eat her up. If Chu Yen hadn't appeared, the second personality wouldn't have the energy to dance around and would have died long ago. What do you mean? It means what I said. I won't hide you in a place where no one can see you. I will let you out. Other than not having the right to control your body, you have the right to vent when you're unhappy. For example, you can be angry, sad. You can try all these emotions. I won't stop you. The second personality's voice was hesitant. You're acting weird today. What's wrong with you? Why are you acting crazy again? I know, you must have thought of some scheme and plan to suppress me again. No matter how you treat me, I will still appear when you're unhappy and in despair. I've said it before, I will always be by your side. I won't leave you. One day, you will understand that I'm the one who's true to you. What a pitiful child. Looks like I didn't treat you well in the past. Tangwa's voice was faint. I'll treat you better in the future. I won't suppress you anymore. I'll bring you to see the outside world more. Oh right, let's communicate telepathically in the future. If we make any sound, people will think we're crazy. I don't believe you. Although the second personality didn't believe her, she wasn't as agitated after hearing Tangwa's words. She had said it before. No matter how Tangwa treated her, she was the one who would never leave her. She would stay by Tangwa's side forever. I don't care if you believe me or not. I'm going to sleep. After watching for an entire night and an entire morning, my body is sending me a warning signal. I need to sleep. You can think about it slowly. I'm going to have dinner with my future partner at a restaurant tonight. The second personality really wanted to refute. That man was no different from the previous man. He would change in the future. But Tangwa covered herself with the blanket, closed her eyes, and fell asleep. With their familiarity, the second personality noticed that Tangwa had really fallen asleep the moment she closed her eyes. What is happiness? The second personality believed that abandoning all the bad things in the world was happiness. Seeing those bad things suffer was her happiness. If she could, she would rather do it herself and bring misfortune to those bad things. That would make her even happier. However, she could not control her body. As long as the main personality was not willing, she could not do anything. Unless the other party wasn't clear-headed, she would be able to do something. Now, something seemed to have happened to the primary personality. She couldn't bewitch the other party anymore. Previously, when the primary personality said that she wanted to swallow her second personality, she didn't think that the primary personality was lying. How strange. The second personality looked at the sleeping ball of light. From her point of view, it was undoubtedly huge. Not only was it huge, but its light was also very intense. When she was awake, she noticed that the main personality was brighter than when she was young. Chapter 28-25. It was like a 5,000-watt light bulb. No, it was much brighter than a 5,000-watt light bulb. And her second personality was a small ball of light that emitted a gray light. If the main personality was the size of a fist, then her second personality was the size of a pinky nail. The second personality was so conflicted that the entire gray ball of light was trembling. It shouldn't be a problem for the main personality to swallow her. Now the other party didn't seem to have any intention of suppressing her. Was he really going to let her out and suppress her temper? Because she was separated, ever since she was suppressed, the main personality almost never got angry. The only emotions she could express were joy and gentleness. As for anger, she didn't know how to express them. At about 5:30 in the afternoon, Tangwa woke up. She first felt the existence of the second personality. The other party seemed to be a little conflicted. She didn't pay attention to it. She changed into clean clothes and opened the door. She was about to knock on Chu Yan's door when she found a small note on the table. She picked it up and saw that Chu Yan had left it for her. He said that she had to go back and change her clothes. After all, she was going to a restaurant to eat, so she had to wear clean clothes. In addition, he had already booked a table at the restaurant and asked her to call him when she woke up. Look carefully. This is a date. The second personality knew that this was for her, so she didn't say anything. Although the man called Chu Yan was more pleasing to the eye than the previous people, she didn't think that the guy who looked good would be able to persist. Sooner or later, he would show his worst side. Just like Chi Yunfeng and her scumbag father, they were all scumbags. Tangwa called Chu Yan and said that she had woken up. I'll wait for you downstairs. Tangwa took 20 minutes to wash up and put on makeup. When she went downstairs, Chu Yan was already waiting there. Chu Yan saw that she was wearing a brighter color dress and the bag she was carrying seemed to be brighter than before. Then he looked at the smile on Tangwa's face. It gave him a feeling that she seemed to have recovered. He tactfully didn't mention this. Now wasn't the time. You look beautiful today. Tangwa tilted her head and asked, You mean I didn't look good yesterday? You didn't look good the day before and you didn't look good before? Chu Yan, system, ha. Second personality. The main personality has indeed become very strange. No, you were also good-looking in the past. What I mean is that you are becoming more and more good-looking with each passing day. Chu Yan reacted. How could such a small problem be difficult for him? He was the man who was going to move into her master bedroom in the future. If this problem stopped him, then the day he moved into her master bedroom would definitely be far in the future. Because the restaurant was not far from here, it would only take 5 minutes to get there. Therefore they planned to walk there. However, there might be other activities in a while. Chu Yan had already parked the car in the parking lot of the restaurant in advance. He walked to Tangwa's side and naturally held her hand. He pointed to her handbag and said, Give it to me. Carrying a bag for his girlfriend was a gesture of self-awareness. System, male compatriot, this is the main point. Remember, this is awareness. Tangwa didn't refuse, which made the second personality feel that Chu Yan was even worse. She believed that if this man had a change of heart in the future, he would definitely be the worst one, the one who could hurt the main personality the most. Chapter 28-26. After the meal, Tangwa went to the bathroom to touch up her makeup. The second personality tried to speak, and as expected, Tangwa didn't stop her. That man is full of flowery words and has been trying to please you. He's definitely not a good person. Just you wait, this kind of man changes his heart the fastest. You mean a man who wants a mate can't be courteous? What's the point of seeking a mate? Just be a bachelor for the rest of your life. In short, I don't think he's a good person. The second personality quibbled. If he has the ability, let's wait and see. I think he's quite good. He has a good figure, a good face, and a good mouth. Listening to him makes me feel very good. Now that I'm his girlfriend, isn't it normal for him to be good to me? At this time, a man can't do this. I guess he doesn't like me either, Tangwa said in a low voice as she applied lipstick. In short, just wait and see. Look at Chi Yunfeng. He's an example of someone who has no feelings for me. When we go out on dates, don't talk about carrying my bag. He basically doesn't ask me what I like to eat. The topic of discussion is always about his new book. When he looks for me, it's always when he's lacking inspiration or when he wants to draw illustrations. The second personality snorted. I didn't say Chi Yunfeng was a good person. It's good that they broke up. Let him and that little bitch hurt each other. With a faint smile on her lips, Tangwa put the lipstick in her bag. From the moment the second personality appeared, those blurry memories were clear. In the original plot, Ranin's choice was no different from now. She left silently and went to another city. She thought that she couldn't face the original owner and planned to never come back. Until she found out about the original owner's suicide on the internet. Everyone was guessing why the original owner, who was such an optimistic person, suddenly jumped off a building to commit suicide. Ran thought that the person who caused all this was her. She, who hadn't fully recovered from her illness, had been feeling guilty after the original owner died. The new life that she had just started was broken again. Ran, who lived in self-blame and guilt every day, finally couldn't bear the huge pressure one day and her illness worsened. Once again, she chose to commit suicide to escape. However, her luck was better and she was discovered again. In the end, Chi Yunfeng found Ran and planned to take care of her. But when he saw Chi Yunfeng, Ran remembered that the death of the original owner was caused by the two of them. His condition was getting worse. In the end, he basically lost his mind and often had nightmares when he woke up. At that time, Chi Yunfeng still had the strongest love for Ran. He couldn't ignore her, so he took her home to take care of her. It was just that Ran's existence made it impossible for him to continue writing. At first, he was barely able to create it. Later on, various things happened and Chi Yunfeng slowly disappeared from the science fiction world. They relied on the money they earned in the past to sustain their lives. However, Ran did not seem to be getting better. Chi Yunfeng gradually felt a sense of powerlessness. No matter how strong their love was, it would not be able to withstand the test of reality. Finally, after the two of them had reached middle age, Ran once ran out like a madman, and Chi Yunfeng never went to look for him again. When he received the news, it would be the notification of Ran's death. Because of this, he began to blame himself again. Ran's death did not bring him relief. Chapter 28-27. Instead, he began to reminisce. If he hadn't fallen for Ran, then Tangwa wouldn't have died. Then, he wouldn't have given up on writing. Perhaps, the two of them would have gotten married. Just like that, he reminisced and died alone. Therefore, the male and female protagonists of this world had never been together. Living together was just torture for each other. Tonight, there's a traditional cultural performance in the ancient town. Let's go take a look. When Tangwa returned to her seat, Chu Yen told her about this matter. I saw the photos posted by the netizens. The ancient town over there even has colored lights. It's very beautiful. There's also a lot of traditional crafts for sale there. This kind of event doesn't even happen once a year. We're just in time today. Okay, then let's go there. Chu Yen smiled and took her bag. His other hand held her small hand. There will be a lot of people later. Don't get separated. Xiaogua, you must hold on to me. If you think it's too troublesome, I can hold your hand. System, if you want to hold my hand, just say so. Don't make up so many excuses. As an adult, even if they get separated, can't they find each other again? Moreover, this wasn't the ancient town. He still had to drive later. He just wanted to hold her hand. When the two of them got into the car, Tangwa received a phone call. Linlin, what's wrong? After she asked the sentence, she felt Chu Yan's worried gaze. Xiaogua, I have a quarrel with him. Can you come over and accompany me? He doesn't change and makes me angry. Let's go to the old place. Before Yuan Linlin could finish speaking, she was interrupted by Tangwa. You guys have been together for so long. I don't see you guys breaking up. Doesn't he always turn around and apologize? It's so late. It's not safe outside. Sleep early. No, Xiaogua. I just want you to accompany me. Let's talk. I'll be happy. Tangwa's lips curved. Lin, I've already made up with my boyfriend today. If you're happy, my boyfriend will be angry with me. As a good friend, you don't want me to break up with my new boyfriend, right? Yuan Lin originally wanted to ask if they were friends, but she didn't expect Tangwa to say it first. She opened her mouth but didn't know what to say. Lin, go to bed early. My boyfriend is calling me. After saying this, Tangwa hung up the phone with a snap. System, yes, that's how my dear host should be. Second personality, she hasn't even started to get angry, and it's already over? Chu Yen was stunned at first. Watching Tangwa hang up the phone without hesitation, he still felt a little incredulous. But soon he was happy for her. What are you doing? Tangwa looked back at him with a smile in her eyes. Chu Yen laughed. I thought you would go over to comfort her. She's an adult. She needs to learn how to take care of herself. I'm not her guardian. Tangwa took out a small mirror to check if her makeup was perfect. Didn't you teach me not to do things that make me unhappy if I don't want to? Chu Yan's smile widened. I didn't expect you to listen. Yes, I listened. After all, you're the first person who was willing to come all the way here and stay up all night to take a taxi to watch the sunrise with me. Chu Yan's heart warmed. So she remembered everything. Chapter 28. Now that we're in a relationship, don't waste your money. You actually spent 100,000 on a taxi. Chu Yen couldn't stop smiling when he saw Tangwa's distressed expression. How do you know that I spent 100,000 on a taxi? The driver posted all the records of the money transfer on the internet. Now, the internet is going crazy. It said that there's a love-struck man who asked the driver to drive him to a certain place just to see the sunrise with the person he cares about. Perhaps because he wanted to protect Tangwa, the driver only said that the two of them were going to watch the sunrise together. He didn't mention that there were many inflatable cushions below. It was still early at that time. After Tangwa came down, those who were worried about her gradually left. Now the entire internet was reposting the news. Someone even made a joke. You like me? Are you willing to watch the sunrise with me? Of course, Tangwa was the first to know about this. It was the system who told her. The system even vividly described to her how Chu Yen wanted to spend 100,000 on a taxi. Chu Yen looked at his phone. The screen was full of words. You're willing to spend 100,000 on a taxi for me to watch the sunrise with me. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Sometimes I spend money like this. I'm a little extravagant. Chu Yen thought about it. Why don't you keep it for me? I'll give you all my savings. You can give me pocket money in the future. System, shameless. You really know how to take advantage of the situation. The second personality, shameless. She was sure that this man was just saying it. The second personality didn't expect that when Chu Yen met Tangwa the next day, he took out all his money and gave her all his cards. He even changed the password to her birthday. Not only that, he also sent a lot of money and investments to Tangwa. He told her that she could take them out at any time. The second personality, this man is really willing to spend money. No wonder you fell for it. Tangwa ignored the second personality's words. A single dog who had never been in a relationship wouldn't understand these things. System, that's right. Today he moved all his money to the host's side. Tomorrow he might move his entire body into the host's little bed. That shameless guy was really treacherous. After a while of observation, Chu Yen discovered that Tangwa wasn't the same as before. She wouldn't seriously deal with those people who often complained to her. Especially when she was on a date with him, under normal circumstances, she would just casually say that she wanted to go on a date with her boyfriend and simply hang up the phone. Although he was her excuse every time, why did he feel so happy and sweet inside? Professor, do you think she has recovered from her illness? Now, I couldn't feel anything unhealthy in her heart at all. It was as if she had let go of something and her life was much more relaxed than before. And when they smile, many of them are sincere. Occasionally, they would even make some particularly cheerful expressions. You little brat, just describe the situation. Can you not add adjectives like cute? A certain professor couldn't stand it anymore. Was he describing Tangwa's performance to him, or was he flaunting their love for each other? "Okay, Professor. What I mean is, she doesn't look like a patient now. Can you bring her over for a look?" Chu Yen hesitated for a moment before saying, "Perhaps I should find a time to communicate with her and completely resolve this matter." Chapter 28-29. Chu Yen didn't hesitate to do what he said. On their next date, he frankly told Tangguo about his previous worries and suspicions. After that, he waited for Tangguo's reaction. Yen, I know that you've been enlightening me. As someone who has read countless psychology books and is so observant, it's impossible for you not to notice some abnormalities in me." Facing Tangguo's calmness, Chu Yen was still surprised. Seeing that she didn't care, he felt relieved. Could it be that she really got over it? "It's all in the past. My illness has been cured by you. But you look very worried. This time, you took the initiative to tell me. Do you want to take me to see a doctor?" Chu Yen nodded. "Then let's make an appointment. I'll cooperate with you." The more she was like this, the more relieved Chu Yen was. "I'm just worried about you." "I know. If you weren't really worried about me, my illness wouldn't have recovered so quickly. It's all thanks to you that I can be so happy." System, that guy is good at coaxing people and his host is also good at coaxing people. They are indeed a match made in heaven. Chu Yen was a little overwhelmed by the praise. Although their relationship developed a little fast, at least in terms of confirming their relationship, it was faster. But in his heart, he didn't feel fast at all. At least, he hadn't succeeded in sending himself to her master bedroom yet. But he wasn't worried. He had handed over all his belongings to her. Moving into the master bedroom was something that would happen sooner or later. After making an appointment, Chu Yen took Tangguo to see the professor on that day. Tangguo was very cooperative with the professor's examination of her mental state. She even used some equipment. During this period, Chu Yen waited outside. When the examination ended and the professor said that she was very healthy, Chu Yen was so happy that he even invited the professor to a meal. At the dining table, the professor brought up the old topic again. "Chu Yen, now that you have a girlfriend and your girlfriend's physical and mental health is good, should we talk about the previous matter? Do you want to be my student?" Chu Yen was a little conflicted, but the professor had mentioned it many times. If he refused again, it would be a little unreasonable. The professor was a well-known psychologist. He had lowered himself to talk to him so many times and helped him so much. This time, he couldn't refuse. In the end, Chu Yen acknowledged the professor as his teacher. During her studies in Chu Yen, she would always bring Tangguo along, which led to the professor discovering Tangguo's talent. Then he went back on his words and said that Tangguo was his last student. Chu Yen. He knew that the professor had always been this shameless. Now, Tangguo wouldn't comfort those irrelevant people. No matter how many complaints they sent, she basically wouldn't reply. Yuan Linlin would call her from time to time about all kinds of things that were not going well in her life. She would also make excuses for the quarrels between young couples. Every time Yuan Linlin was about to complain, she would hang up the phone with a bang. For the rest of her time, other than working, she would study with Chu Yen from her psychology teacher. Because she often came home late, Chu Yen sent her home and conveniently stayed at her house. Half a year later, Chu Yen successfully moved from the guest room to the master bedroom. From then on, he was satisfied. He learned seriously from the professor and became an assistant. No matter how troublesome the patients were, he was all smiles. The professor looked at him and wanted to hit him every day. Chapter 28-30. The old professor felt that the worst thing that had happened in his life was taking in a young couple as his students. Unfortunately, they were so talented that he couldn't bear to kick them out. He could only try his best to impart everything he knew to them. The two of them lived up to the old professor's expectations. Soon, something happened. With the professor leading the way, they gradually gained some reputation in the industry. Even so, they still treated being psychologists as a side job. They didn't plan to do it every day. After finishing their studies, Tangguo and Chu Yen went back to their normal lives. However, they would receive requests from patients from time to time to help with their treatment. At that time, Tangguo posted her identity as a psychiatrist on her social media account. She also posted a photo of her qualification certification and a photo of her payment. On Weibo, her introduction had also changed. From a famous painter to a famous painter and part-time psychiatrist. Soon people noticed this. They were the people who had been trying to complain to Tangguo but couldn't get a response. A long time had passed, but they still couldn't forget about Tangguo, this trash can that they could complain about. Some people thought that they were familiar with each other. Even if Tangguo was really qualified to be a psychologist now, she shouldn't charge them for the sake of being acquaintances. However, after interacting with her, it was different from what they thought. When they sent a message saying that they had been feeling a little uncomfortable recently and wanted Tangguo to help them analyze it. Tangguo said and sent them a list of prices. Tangguo, this is the payment. The lowest you can buy is half an hour and the highest is 3 hours. After all, I'm only doing this part-time. Take a look. If there's no problem, transfer the money first. Then we can start. If you don't trust the phone, we can use the platform. Don't worry about me cheating you. If you're doubting my qualifications, you can check my photo album in my space. There are some of my qualifications and certificates in there. You can check all of them. The series of actions made the people who complained a little unable to react. When the person who wanted to complain saw the fee, he immediately typed a sentence without thinking. 800 yuan for half an hour. Are you robbing me? Tangguo, what kind of joke is this? We're all schoolmates. Do you have to do this? Tangguo, it's because we're schoolmates that I gave you a 20% discount. According to the market price, I can charge you 1,000 yuan for half an hour. In the end, of course, that person expressed that he was very good. He wouldn't be crazy to buy a psychological consultation that cost 800 yuan for half an hour. He was really crazy. After seeing Tangguo's introduction, many people came to her. After seeing the price, they thought that she was crazy for money. Many people even formed a small group to discuss whether Tangguo was crazy or not. Tangguo snorted and ignored him. If it weren't for the fact that he was an alumnus, she would have to line up to make an appointment. Second personality, this is different from what I thought. So you can do it like this? He didn't need to do anything bad to make those bad things uncomfortable. Gradually, almost no one came to disturb Tangguo on her social media account. Actually, during the time when she was studying with the old professor, she had developed a new circle of friends. If they weren't in the psychology world, they were big shots in the business world. She had even met a lot of famous actors. Xiaoguo, do we have to pay for our relationship? Yuan Linlin was in disbelief. You don't even treat me as a friend. Chapter 2831. If you treated me as a friend, you wouldn't have called me at 2 in the morning to ask me to go out even though you knew that I didn't like going to those kinds of places. Let me guess. After I talked to you, you turned around to make new friends and told me that you didn't like those kinds of places. You told me to go home and have fun with those new friends, right? Then, have you ever worried that it would be dangerous for a girl to go to those kinds of places at 2 or 3 in the morning and go home alone? Psychological counseling costs $2,000. If you want me to come over at this time, $5,000. No negotiation. Since we're friends, please respect my profession. Hearing Tangguo's cold and emotionless voice, Yuan Linlin was about to go crazy. She slammed the phone down. Turn off your phone. Chu Yen patted Tangguo's head. He didn't think that his girlfriend was black-hearted or asked for a high price at all. This was a package that they had set up together for these troublemakers. They knew that they couldn't bear to part with it and used it to send them away. I woke you up so late at night. Forget it. I think I'll just blacklist her. Tangguo smiled and handed the phone to him. Help me. Why do I always have to be the bad guy? Tangguo pinched Chu Yan's face. I like the way you blacklist people. You look so handsome. Chu Yan suddenly sobered up. The smile in his eyes couldn't be hidden. His fingers quickly blocked Yuan Linlin's contact. He leaned in front of Tangguo and said, Hurry up and tell me, who else can I block? System. How shameless. Chu Yan had a lot of doubts in his heart. Tangguo's personality had changed a lot compared to when they first met. He didn't think too much about it. He thought that she might have changed herself after she thought it through. As for why she suddenly recovered, Many miracles happened in this world every day. Now that she was fine, nothing else mattered. The most important thing was that he had a girlfriend. He could hold his girlfriend's hand to play every day and hug her to sleep at night. This was his ideal life. Tang Guo pointed out many numbers to Chu Yen, but he mercilessly threw them into the little black room. Chu Yen hugged her waist with one arm. He believed that this kind of life was real. System. All right, the bachelor system is indeed happy that a couple can blacklist someone together. I don't understand. Yuan Linlin couldn't believe that Tang Guo had hung up on her. She didn't believe it and thought it was a misunderstanding. She called again and found that the phone couldn't get through. She quickly realized that Tang Guo might have blocked her number. Yuan Linlin stared at her phone in disbelief. Previously, she had seen some people discussing Tang Guo's changes in her class group. It was said that apart from painting, Tang Guo was also doing psychological counseling. She had even put up her qualification certificate. They even said that when schoolmates and old classmates went to the hospital, the other party did not give them any face at all. The price they charged was several times more expensive than the big hospitals. She had thought that those people who said that Tang Guo was black-hearted and heartless were fake. Someone was dissatisfied with Tang Guo and was spreading rumors. Now she understood that what they said was true. Tang Guo was no longer the Tang Guo of the past. She was a person who was full of the stench of money. I didn't expect her to become such a person. To think that I treated her as a good friend, Yuan Linlin said angrily and fell asleep. Chapter 28-32. Tang Guo, who had been criticized by Yuan Linlin and many others for being black-hearted and heartless, accepted a job that didn't make any money at all. She even had to pay for it. She was doing free psychological counseling for the children of the orphanage. When Chu Yen found out about her decision, he raised both his hands in agreement. He even said that he had a part to play in this matter. His girlfriend was doing a good deed. As a boyfriend, he had to support her. He seemed to understand why Tang Guo wanted to help the children of the orphanage with psychological counseling. Perhaps she didn't want these unfortunate children to have psychological problems that would affect their physical and mental health and their future lives. When I was in junior high school, my parents divorced. It was the middle of junior high school. I remember it was the middle of junior high school. Chu Yen understood that Tang Guo wanted to talk to him about her own situation. He didn't ask anything and just listened attentively. My father cheated. My mother couldn't stand it and insisted on getting a divorce. She didn't want to face everything here. She went abroad and took my sister away. Then I became a boarder. She chose my sister. My sister was young and couldn't take care of herself. Although she couldn't bear to part with her and was a little disappointed, I understood. Chu Yen held her hand tightly to show that he was still here. She told me to be strong. She said that I had been sensible since I was young and could take care of myself. She said the same thing every time. She said that my sister's ability to take care of herself was terrible and that I was better. Every time she talked to me, she praised me for being independent and complained that my sister was still so terrible and hadn't grown up at all. Maybe she didn't realize it herself, but her tone wasn't disdain for my sister at all. Instead, it was full of doting. Say, if I wasn't strong, Mom wouldn't want me, and Dad would have married a mistress and had a child. Who would care about me? I told you that day that she was coming back, right? Chu Yen nodded. The day before, she gave me the flight information. I was preparing for it very early in the morning. Later, I waited at the airport until late at night, but I didn't see her. Later, I found out that she didn't even board the plane when it was time. That day, I didn't even receive a small notice. Not even a message or an email. It wasn't until the next day that she called and said that my sister's hand was injured. Tang Guo had a faint smile on her face. She just wanted to give Chu Yen an explanation so that he wouldn't overthink things. After all, there had to be a process and result for her illness and recovery. She also had a premonition that her cheap mother might come back, and her purpose was definitely not just to see her. He had to make things clear with Chu Yen first so that he wouldn't express the wrong attitude. At first, I was quite worried and thought that it would be very serious. After all, my sister plays the violin. For a violinist, the hand is more or less his life. At this point, Chu Yan saw a mocking smile appear in Tangwa's eyes. His intuition told him that what he was about to say would make her feel uncomfortable. Sure enough, she said, later on, my mother said that my younger sister accidentally cut off one of her fingers when she was cutting vegetables. She also said that she wouldn't be able to come back because her younger sister was clumsy and needed her to take care of her personally. Chu Yan couldn't help but hug Tangwa and whisper in her ear, I think you don't know how to take care of yourself, so you'll need me for the rest of your life. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.